and there's a legendary, almost legendary. How would we call it? It's a legendary piece of content that circulates in the SIA, and I wonder where the origins of the Steve Studley show are. Where's this come from?
Where does it come from? It actually came, the dark secret is this.
So give me the background of Steve Studley, because clearly you're calling him from the US. You sure as hell don't have a US accent.
Grew up in Somerset. At the earliest juncture, I joined the Navy. So in the Navy, I specialized as a diver. I was a bomb disposal officer, if you will. My fiance, now my wife, and I were still dating, so we were making airlines and phone companies rich. And the conversation went something like, "Do you want to come over to America? We'll get married." And I said, "Sure." That was 16 years ago.
Do you see any relation between what you did in the Navy versus what you get to do now? Because I know an awful lot of people that have come out of the forces, again, like yourself in that officer position, that have, I don't want to say walked into senior leadership positions, but have found it very easy to make that sort of crossover into the commercial world.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think first and foremost, it starts with confidence. And it has its quirky side effects, but as a schoolboy of 18, 19 years old, and you're being thrust to the forefront to lead men that are really quite old enough to be your father, the first thing they do is boost you with confidence, or they want to see confidence, and they teach you that no one wants a shaky leader out front. People will follow people over a cliff if they appear that they know what they're doing.
And that's it. Nobody knew what 2020 was going to look like.
No.
Right? I just wrote a blog post this morning, and it was centered around how this time last year, everyone was preparing their 2020 vision. Right? Everyone called it the 2020 vision. If only we had the vision to see what was really around the corner.
Sure.
Obviously, you're almost bucking the trend because you were effectively a remote CEO by default.
Sure.
Which is advantageous, but I think it's going to take a lot for people to come back from this. How do you do anything in your company as far as people are concerned to help them through this period, as it were?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We took some human resources advice about three months ago. We implemented a bi-weekly program of checking in with people working at home. I myself, I'm actually just calling around now every single employee, not just the ones that come into the office, just checking in, seeing how they're doing. We sent out small gift cards for a local New Jersey restaurant chain in absence of our Christmas lunch.
I think you're quite right with the whole working from home being seen as a privilege. There's an organization that I know of who pre-pandemic was never comfortable with anybody working from home, because if you're working from home and I can't see you, are you really working? And I'm aware that the CEO had driven to an employee's house, parked outside the house to make sure that employee was at home working.
Wow.
And you've got to look at things from a purview of, well, actually, if I'm employing you, I must trust you. Otherwise, why have I employed you? I can only assume that, when we're having text messages at 3:00 in the morning in Las Vegas, you're playing poker. I can only imagine that is some form of business development activity.
Right. Well, the irony is I'm not allowed to play any of the state lotteries as a subcontractor of most of the lottery providers around the US. I don't play the lottery, and I don't actually gamble. Apart from playing poker, I don't gamble at all when I'm in Vegas.
So clearly your whole life has been plain sailing, to steal another boat analogy there. But has anything ever happened since you joined Trident that was something that was a real story to tell, something that was, you would not believe this happened?
I've seen some crazy things in the federal, I'm going to stay broad here so as not to implicate anybody, but in the federal, city and local government space.